was the best debate I've ever personally that I've had. We're getting polls that show 92 to 6, 88 to 11. We're having a lot of great polls that just came out. There are polls, I guess, phone polls and lots of other polls, but you see the polls. A very important debate. Now, she wants to do another one because she got beaten tonight, but I don't know if we're going to do another one. I wouldn't mind.
So there you have it, boys. A big win for Donald Trump, according to Donald Trump, and polls, instant polls, minutes after the debate that he claims has 92% saying that he won. It's
I've got that poll.
Putin-esque.
I have that poll right here. It's the Fabrizio poll, and the margin of error is until I get all my outstanding invoices paid by this dying campaign. And then it's going to get recalculated. But get paid, Tony.
Yeah. So Murphy, Heilman, on no planet would anybody, but perhaps the Hungarian judges, judge that as a win for Donald Trump. That was pretty much of an ass kicking.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen the samurai move where the razor sword is pulled out and then the samurai chops off his own legs and arm. But the coroner's calling this one a suicide.
When I heard that Scott Jennings line last night, which was really good from your thing, which is, you can't really work the refs if you can't make a shot. I actually thought like there were a whole bunch of these where like Trump was throwing alley-oops to her, like on on the wrong, like not just an own goal, but like you're like throwing alley-oops into the defender over your basket. Like it's just that there's the other version of the suicide thing. It's just wild, totally wild. And I all I could think of last night as a podcast title for my own was Slaughterhouse 45. It's like, I mean, as I did.
I have it on good authority that the Washington Generals made a cash offer to him today.
As a debate,
I don't think there are that many Washington Generals are that fond of him, but go ahead.
As a quad debate, it was a wipeout. I mean, quad debate, like what the political implications are, we can talk about all day, but like just as a matter of like just stagecraft, strategy, performance, the whole thing. She wiped the floor with him. She
was incredibly well prepared. That was very, very obvious. But what was most obvious is that part of that plan was to go to those hot buttons of Donald Trump and just set that. It was like watching a fireworks show, like one going off after another. But the one that really, really, I thought, defined the evening and set him on an irrevocably bad path was when she went to his most sacred topic, which was crowd sizes. Let's listen to that.
He's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires.
Did you see the look on his face when she said they left in exhaustion from his rallies?
It's like he'd been kicked in the balls and was trying to pass a very large, a very large kidney stone.
You always have such elegant ways of.
Well, he looks so uncomfortable. He looks so pained by the whole thing. Like,
it was funny. When she started that, I thought, she's going to go into the condescending Obama gods and guns stuff and blow a finger off here, fancy Oakland, fancy Beverly Hills style. But it was just the setup. And then she got to the pure nerve center, right in the bottom of his brain about his beloved crowds. And it was great because it was the Psy-War debate, by the way. I mean, you can do a mashup of all the, at Goldman, they think you're an idiot. At Wharton, they hate your plan. You don't have crowd sizes. Your generals think you're not a man. You know, the foreign leaders snicker at you. I mean, it's just one after another. And he went for it every single time. Our Labradoodle goes for the tennis ball less. Than he
or for the piece of bologna, like with my Great Dane, takes my arm off every time he sees it. It was incredible to watch. And I wondered, Mike, you last night when we were texting, you made this point, which is, a thing you've been stressing for some number of these episodes before the debate, which was that, you wanted her to do a bunch of kind of elevating above the debate and talk to the people at home and sort of, like kind of get out of the tit for tat, right? And one of the things that you guys both know is like, when you're in a debate and something's working, you just keep doing it, right? It's like
Right.
it's like a great athlete, like Michael Jordan. Allen Iverson does the crossover and he leaves somebody on the floor. He's going to keep doing the crossover until that
listen,
guy
I
figures
don't
out
think,
how to defend it. And she
I
just
don't-
saw it was working.
I don't think I think that was what she was going to do from start to finish. I think that, when you prep for a debate, and we should listen to Trump's response just to give people a sense of
how bad it was.
how bad it was. But when you prep for a debate and you're really well prepped, there's not a lot of surprises in that debate. And you could see she was laying on every pitch.
Right.
It was really something. But let's listen to what Trump said after she went after the sacred crowd totem.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame.
Oh, no.
It's a shame. All right.
Yeah.
First
Says
of all,
the guy-
we
says the
should
guy-
point out that the lead into that, the question was about immigration, and he could not keep from
resist.
taking the bait. And as soon as he said, "No, I have to address the crowd size thing," you could see Kamala Harris was
eyes lit
thinking,
up.
"We got him."
Yeah, I just won the lottery here. He's going to
100%.
jump
And-
right
and then
into
it
the
was
wood
this-
chipper.
This was Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. He was Colonel Jessup, and she was
You want crowd sizes? You can't handle my crowd sizes.
exactly. But I really think from that point on, he was done.
If she had gilded the lily one more gild and just mentioned, they put that video out of Obama making fun of his penis yesterday, just to set this up even more. If she had gilded the lily one more step and just mentioned Obama and did like a little thing with her hands, she could have gotten him to talk about his. She could have gotten him to talk about his in the presidential debate.
Yeah,
sure.
but I don't think she wanted to go to those
Well,
lengths. But
That would be for
anyway.
hardcore fans like you, Johnny. I
know.
think the rest of us are just fine.
I keep trying to find new lows, Murphy. That's the thing.
That used to be my job.
But one thing I will say, I think I agreed with Mike, and my feeling was, do not let him lead you down these dark alleys and get angry and respond to him and let him dictate the debate.
Right.
She didn't do that, but she was more prosecutorial than I would have expected. And I realized during that debate that she was doing what she feels comfortable doing. And one of the things that's really important in presidential politics and in these in these debates is, do you look comfortable? Do you look like you're in command?
Are you
look
having
like
fun? Are you a human?
exactly? And you saw, for those of you who watched the debate or who are watching this on YouTube, you saw how she reacted, and she clearly did some work on that as well. But she looked like someone who was in the moment and on top of the moment and enjoying the moment. And that was really important. The other place where I thought, and you guys, let me know what you think about this, but on the where she really started taking off, and we'll talk about the beginning of the debate, which wasn't as good, where she started taking off was on the abortion issue. And it's very clear how passionately she feels about that. But Trump got the question first, This is a huge vulnerability for him. Let's listen to Trump, and then let's listen to Harris back to back.
Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
And you can tell Trump, his head's exploding because personally, he's completely pro-choice and he knows this is killing him. But, he's got his people saying, no, without the, this
He
is
made
how
a
we
Faustian
win.
bargain.
Yeah, and it's just killing him because his position is multiple choice. Let the states vote for it. I don't have a position. And he's just swinging in the wind here. And you can tell he's feeling how bad this is for him.
It's nice how that moment rhymes with her, what I would call her, the arc of her as a political performer, right? Where, she had from 2019, the terrible nomination fight, and then she gets in the office vice president. She gets crapped out like every other vice president, and then Dobbs comes along and is dropped in her lap because Biden, and then she finds her footing. That issue allows her to connect to a community. It allows her to talk about something that she's really feels comfortable with. And you guys know the Haley Barbour thing: good gets better and bad gets worse. And when you get a candidate out there who finds safe ground where they feel like, oh, I'm resonating, this is sinking in, their confidence grows and they get better and better. And part of the story of her is this last year of being out on the road, doing all these abortion events where she really found the language. She found the sensibility for it. She found she had the passion, presumably, she connected to it. And now on this big giant stage, that's the moment in the debate after having had 10 kind of shaky minutes at the top. She lucks out that they put the abortion question in that order, right? That wasn't her choice, but she gets it served up on a platter. And that is really the turning point for the whole debate, because she just got better and better after that for the rest of the debate. I thought stronger and stronger from that moment forward.
She did.
Yeah, when she tasted blood, she got 10 feet tall.
Yes.
And that's frequent. You're absolutely right about confidence.
Yeah.
When it starts working.
But the reason, but again, the thing about this issue, unlike the economic issue, which she still seems like she's trying to get her arms around that one.
Right. Yes.
Unlike that issue, she is totally passionate about this. And there were some other bites that we're not going to share, but that in which that passion was just so manifest and genuine and authentic. And, it's noteworthy that Mike and I were, and maybe you too, John, were privy to some of the data from the dial group that Super PAC did during the debate. The top 6 testing lines of that whole debate by either candidate were her lines on abortion. And I think a lot of it has to do with the presentation of it.
When she did that, I felt like that exchange, I heard 3 things in that exchange. And the first thing you heard was a bunch of people like jamming on those dials. Like you could hear the dials being cranked up even in real time. The next thing you could hear was the gender gap getting wider in America. Yeah. And the third was the sound of JD Vance getting run over by Donald Trump's bus when he backed the bus back up over him. The howling. Of
I totally agree with this, but you know what the most pro-choice cohort of the American electorate is? Young men under 35. Yes. So this thing is a grand slam across the board in most places. The other thing is coherence. If you can make an argument, not easy, on Trump's side, but he couldn't even get there. It was just word salad, babbling, so it wasn't even presented. It was
Can I ask
a
you guys
one-way street, all her.
Well,
wanna
one
ask
of
you
the
guys-
one of the things about this whole debate, look, Trump was terrible in the debate against Biden. I think we said it in the pre-setup to the debate. He
Yep.
was terrible against Biden, but versus Biden, he looked like a colossus in that debate.
Well, this was his Biden debate.
Well,
This was his,
He was,
oh my
yes,
God, what do we
and
got here?
I want to talk about that more and later in the podcast when we get a few more examples in here, because that I think is totally true. This was a bizarro world of the Biden debate in a lot of ways. But the question I have for the two of you is this. I understand in a twisted way some of Trump's lies. Some of the lies he tells, I get what he's going for, right? But this lie that he tells over and over again, which is that everybody wanted Roe v. Wade overturned, is it like, what's that about? Like, where's that rooted in? What
I
does
know
he see?
that.
Because it's like he opens himself up to her most powerful lines there. She gets into it, which is like the woman bleeding out in the parking lot. She wanted this, it's like some of the, he
Right.
opens the door to these incredibly emotional, powerful attacks. Why does he do that over and over again on something
I
that's
have
so
a-
obviously provably wrong?
I have a theory so there is a legitimate academic constitutional law argument about Roe v. Wade is really sloppy constitutional law.
Yes,
The
of course,
justices
yes.
had a country that didn't want restrictions, so they kind of tortured themselves into trimesters, blah, blah, blah. So if you sit down, even on the left, with legal scholars, they say, yeah, it's a really crappy piece of constitutional law, but it's an example of the court going where the country really needed to be. And so somebody briefed Trump on all that. And some professor told me everybody agrees it's lousy law. And then, he projects his way to, so only I could solve it by sending it back to the states, blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't
I'm
matter.
sure he
This
plays
is
that back.
the
I've heard
answer.
that pitch 100 times in campaign briefings.
But to John's point, this is the answer that he's landed on. And what you saw last night, a little bit like what you saw at the convention, is when Trump gets rattled, he goes to his standard kind of rally material. I mean, he's like an old stand-up and he can't improvise as well. And so he just goes to and they plan for that. I'll tell you though, John, on your point about why does he say things that are so blatantly false that everybody knows it? Maybe the most egregious was on January 6th. And I don't think we have that teed up, but where he said, I had nothing to do with that. They just asked me to come and give a speech.
Oh, and the poor victims, those cops out of control, the poor patriots who were murdered, and he has some victim-y quotes. He dug in on that.
Yeah.
With
I mean, he
passion.
ran away, Mike.
At first, right? I didn't do anything. I'm not culpable.
Well, I
But then he dug in on
I was barely involved. I
guess
mean,
they called it a rally. I mean, somebody
Yes.
like he said, literally said something like, "Well, there was some event that I think they called it a rally, and they asked me to speak there."
I
Right,
mean,
and I said
everyone
peacefully-
knows that. Everyone knows that is not what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
It's just crazy.
It was one
because-
after the other. He picked every wrong fight. He was incoherent in his arguments. He seemed like a crazy old man. And some of the focus groups, I'm told, people kept taking, I think he's off his meds, ADHD.
Yeah.
They're starting to die. When you're in a debate at high stakes and the undecided voters watching in a group start to try to diagnose you,
Yes.
that is a very bad night. My wife and I always get in an argument whenever we take on a home improvement project. And honestly, because, we ask Axelrod to come over. He's very proud of the tool belt, but he's not handy. It's a disaster. Time to switch to a pro, especially when you're dealing with something, if you screw it up, looks lousy, like your blinds.
Yeah, there's a better way to buy blinds, shades, shutters, and drapery, and it's called 3-Day Blinds. They're the leading manufacturer of custom window treatments in the U.S., and right now, they're running a buy one, get one 50% off deal.
We can shop for almost anything at home, and why not shop for blinds at home too? 3-Day Blinds has local, professionally trained design consultants who have an average of 10 plus years of experience. These people know what they're doing. They come over, they provide expert guidance on the right blinds for you in the comfort of your own home. Just set up an appointment and you'll get a free, no obligation quote that very same day.
Listen, friends, take it from us. The blind game is not for amateurs. And there's high tech now, too. It's 2024. So much of my house is smart with Alexa, but I never thought about getting my blinds connected to Alexa, too. So now, like a great potentate, I can just say, "Hey, Alexa,
Open the damn blinds each morning, and it does all the work. That's the kind of high-tech blinds we're dealing with here at 3-Day Blinds.
When it comes to home renovations, we all have questions. What blinds should you get to cover arched windows? Is it time to upgrade to motorized blinds? What blinds are better, roller shades or Roman shades? We have this discussion on Hacks on Tap all the time.
Your neighbors just hope you get them. We don't want to look in there and see what's going on. So no matter what your unique needs, from motorization to home automation to room darkening or child safety, with 3-Day Blinds, you get to choose from how many, Heilman?
Thousands of options that fit any budget or style, with actual samples. You won't be guessing about what your blinds will look like. And I'll tell you another thing about 3-Day Blinds. They've been in business for over 45 years, which means that the people who are the most veteran people at 3-Day Blinds actually understand most of Murphy's cultural references on this show.
45 years is saying something. That means a lot of referrals, a lot of good reviews, and you know why? They make an incredibly high-quality product. That's why they are the highest-rated blinds company in the dog-eat-dog blinds game on Trustpilot, with 4.7 out of 5 stars.
And guess what, Hackaroos? Right now, you can get 3-Day Blinds, buy one, get one 50% off deal on custom blinds, shades, shutters, and drapery for a free, no-charge, no-obligation consultation. Just head to 3dayblinds.com/hacks. That's buy one, get one 50% off when you head to 3dayblinds.com/hacks. One last time, say it, John Heilman.
That's the number 3, DAYBLINDS.com/HACKS.
There's one thing that I think, if I were doing the after action over there in the Harris campaign, the one thing I would say is we got to do more. We got to think more deeply about how we answer these questions on the economy.
Right. I have a plan. It's just not a.
Well, it's not just that, but her first answer is
so many
this
facts, and it was just all like I.
But
felt
it
like,
was, but she went backwards. She said, this is what he handed us. This is what he handed us, and I can tell you from my own experience with Obama, because we went through all this. We talked about the car being in the ditch, and we pulled the car out of the ditch, and all that. People do not want to go backward.
Right.
Oh,
They
totally.
don't want, and they don't want you to duck responsibility.
Right.
So
I actually go ahead, David, and then
no,
I'll
please go
echo
ahead. Go.
Well, I'm with you. I actually think the Harris strategy wasn't so good, but she hit Trump committed suicide. So it's a huge win, and I'll take it, and they should feel good. And her performance was strong. But they decided to have the squabble with Trump debate, and they kicked his butt. So it was the best possible squabble with Trump debate, and Trump sure gave a mighty assist. But do I think she would do better at home, or would have done better at home? I mean, if you're a Trump hater, you love that debate. The bully got beat up, and the bully was crying for mommy by the end of it. If you're in the media, 80% of them hate Trump. You're going to think, oh, perfect debate ever. And she did perform a lot better. I give her all the accolades, and it was a win, and her campaign's stronger today, and his is going to spiral into an internal snake pit of epic proportions we're talking about. But if she'd spent a third of the time, and she did it once in a while, a lot of it changed the channel, no more of this, aren't you tired of it? All great. But if she had connected more about, you having trouble making your mortgage payment, your apartment payment, are you a young couple trying to find a house and you can't afford anything, you're working 2 jobs, more of that to define her. Less than I can win a politician squabble with Donald Trump, which is good, but I don't think it was optimal at home, which is why I don't think she's going to get the huge polling bump out of this. Some Dems think. I think she'll get a little bump. It was good for her. She's more likely to win now. But was it optimal? I think maybe that was their plan, to engage Trump and, quote, beat him. But at home, did she connect on what she's going to do for you going forward? I don't think so. And they have work to do there to finish the sale here.
I want David, I want you to come back to the economics thing, because I think you were about to lead towards the thing of what you could diagnose out of what didn't work on economics that they need to fix over the next 8 weeks that they're going to be campaigning. But separately from that, another axe site here, David, you said on one of these podcasts in the last week or so that we did this thing about how, if you look back historically at presidential debates, that the winner, ultimately the person who what was remembered was, did you have command of the stage?
Yes.
And I think that I agree with Mike, your point that more of the stuff you were talking about could have been made it optimal, and that showing more of herself, answering some of those uncertainties people have in that audience that we see in the polling all the time, which we don't really know who she is, what she believes, that she didn't really accomplish a lot of that in this event. But she definitely won the commanding the stage thing last night.
Yeah.
And that
Oh,
is the
for
thing.
sure.
People will remember this debate as I had donors and people who were incredibly harsh on Biden as everyone was in Atlanta, who were like writing to me going, this is a plausibility test. The first is her first presidential nominee debate. Can she look like I can be
Yeah.
commander in chief? I can go toe to toe with anybody, including Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And she passed that in with flying colors last night. She commanded
I agree.
the battlesphere.
100%.
The battlesphere.
But,
She
but I
commanded
just, you buried the lead. You have donors. Why don't they contribute some to this podcast? We could use
Yeah,
some
exactly.
donors
We
over
could
here.
use a
Come on.
little grease here.
But listen,
we're open.
I joined this podcast because you guys said you were going to become my donors. So, like, you know,
Yeah.
if that was
Yeah.
was I sold a pup there?
well, in the spirit of this discussion, we lied to you. So
Yeah, we sold you the
the,
Chicago Bridge.
yeah, but the but here's the I agree with both you guys. I think she fell short on the economy. I think on the biggest task that was necessary in some ways, which was to meet the moment and look like a president, she absolutely passed with flying colors. But you know, when you look at these voters who are hanging out there, the voters who are going to determine this election,
All 11 of them.
a lot of
All
them are,
11
but
of them in each state.
a lot of them are motivated by economics.
Yes.
And so you know, going deeper and getting as passionate about the struggles of people as she is about the struggles of women who are being deprived their rights is really something that I would focus on if I were her. And by the way, we've said it before. I hope now they sort of loosen up the reins and let her go out and do stuff.
Yes, she's ready just between this and the convention speech. I'll give her one other ding in fairness here. She's got to get a better fracking answer. She turns into a slippery politician because she kind of denies the original position ever existed. For some reason,
I know.
she
I said
can't
in
just say
2020
the facts change. I've learned more. When you're vice president, you get to see a very wide view of all the sides
Yeah.
of the issue.
Right.
I think
And
she's
instead,
trying
she
to
does. I never did it, and that's wrong. It's a lie.
what she says is that in 2020, she said she had backed off. And I bet if you went back and watched her vice presidential debate with Pence, by the time she joined the Biden ticket, that she had in fact backed off because that wasn't Biden's position. I think that's what she's hanging on to there. But the truth is, what people remember
Right,
is
she's
that she was
denying what
against it in
people know is
2019.
true.
She
It's
did
just like-
not go back and look at that debate. All she did was articulate Biden's.
Right, of course. Well, I'm not
She
saying
did not say
I'm not
Joe
saying she's
Biden
being
and I.
honest.
She didn't say I've changed my mind. She didn't.
I know.
You know.
Look, Mike
But when
is
you're
right.
running against a serial flip-flopping weasel, don't do a mini version of it
Right.
yourself. You know,
and
it
Mike,
undercuts everything.
You always use that phrase about the great purifying cleansing thing. It's just like, man, voters love it when you apologize. for
Yes.
something. Just stand up and say, and it's in our lives too. It's like when you go to somebody and go, you know what, I was just fucking wrong about this. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like we all make mistakes. Everybody gets shit wrong.
Yeah.
I got this
I have
wrong.
pulled
I've
that
learned
trick
more.
times than statewide. I joked in one campaign, here's our new slogan, I'm sorry. People
Right.
love it. Christine
People love
Todd
it.
women, and it's
People love
always
it.
a fight because the candidates hate doing it.
It's the
Hate
most
it, hate
relatable
it,
thing
hate
a
it.
human being can do. Everybody
Right.
has that experience. And when you
Yeah.
admit you're wrong, you feel great. People
I
love
thought
to
by
hear
the-
it.
On that, I don't know, Mike, if you remember, we had this discussion back in 2021. We were doing this podcast in 21. Maybe we
I
had
think
it
we've been doing
offline.
it forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were doing it in 21. Oh yeah.
I had a
yeah.
full head of hair when we started this damn thing.
Yeah.
No, I said if Biden after the exit from Afghanistan had went down, if he had simply said, I absolutely am of the belief that we made the right decision. We had to leave Afghanistan. Am I happy with the way it happened? Do I feel like it went down the way it should have? No. And
Obviously
let
not.
the
Obviously
pressure
not.
out. Exactly.
Yeah, John F. Kennedy, and I said this then, John F. Kennedy in 1961, after the Bay of Pigs, stood up at a press conference and said, victory has 1,000 fathers, defeat is an orphan. I am the responsible officer of this government. And
yeah. Well, Churchill had the greatest line ever: "When the facts change, my views can change." What
Yeah.
about
Yes.
you? What would you
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
when the
right.
facts change?
Seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that. But talk about, John, the exchange, because by Trump's whole strategy going into the debate, which he got into maybe mostly in his clothes,
Yes.
never. So it was that she is just a continuation of Joe Biden.
Well, there's two things, right? What we all heard what Trump is going to do, he was going to tie Harris to the Obama record, and then he was going to expose her inauthenticity over all these issues that she's changed. And because he got, as we've already pointed out, got distracted, took all the bait whenever it was thrown at him. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. He actually said a few days ago, "I let Joe Biden talk. I'm just going to let her talk." And instead, every time she baited him, he chased the squirrel. But the other thing was, he never was prosecuting the argument about her being central to the Biden economic record. And then all of a sudden, we got this clip. I mean, I looked at my watch. I think I might have texted one of you guys or both of you. It was 84 minutes into a 90-minute debate when he finally remembered, "Oh shit, I'm supposed to tie her to Joe Biden." And then he did it in the clumsiest way possible. Let's play that.
She is Biden. She's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman. She says, she is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad. And she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time's up.
I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump.
There's so many ways in which this debate, as I said before, is the bizarro world Biden debate, right? And here's the first one. We all talked about how Biden forgot his core message in the Atlanta debate. It was supposed to be, he's all about himself, I'm all about you. Biden didn't make that argument until about 85 minutes into that debate, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is the split screen we just saw is a very vivid illustration of how well trained she was to look on her face and her knowledge of the fact that as a Black woman standing there, that she could just turn to him and say, "You moron, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. I'm obviously not you." And it amplifies the point. And that split screen thing, which killed Joe Biden, the split screen
you're so
with
right.
Trump
it
killed
was
Biden.
his version. Yeah.
And now it's like the split screen is killing Trump with Harris. It's like, it's a perfect parallel to it. And then the third thing was the thing we also briefly alluded to earlier today, which is like the worst moment. In that, when Jon Stewart did his thing about after the Atlanta debate, he had a 4-box of Biden slack-jawed. And he's like, "Did no one in debate prep look at these and look at what he looks like here?" She was always, throughout the whole thing, was playing that, right? And then the third thing was the thing you mentioned earlier. He gets an immigration question and he takes it, he goes off onto rallies and then the pet killing, right? It's exactly the same moment that Biden had when Biden got the abortion question and flipped it to immigration. It's like, and that was like one of the worst moments of the debate. Biden finally got a question that was like right in his wheelhouse, and he took it to the worst possible place. Trump here was given the immigration question, which is all he really wants to talk about, and he goes racing off to talk about crowd sizes and cat and dog killing. By the way, the only president so sociopathic in the last 100 years that he hasn't had a pet in the White House is all of a sudden worried about cat and dog killing in Ohio. That's how you know.
Well, Robert Kennedy Jr. was there last night. And I had just had this image of him wandering through when all of this was being discussed, thinking there was a meal lined up for him somewhere.
Right, exactly. Hit the bear cub thing, Donald. It's a proven winner.
But there's a cross cut on this that also is really, really important. From the beginning, since she got into this race, she has been advantaged by the fact, leaving the New York Times Siena poll out of it for a reason I'll mention in a second. She has been the turn the page candidate. She has been changed. He has become the embattled incumbent. He's been trying to change that dynamic by turning her into the incumbent. The Times poll asked the question, who represents change from Biden?
Right.
And so, of course, that biases the question.
Well, that anchors it a little bit to her, but that's in voter heads a little. I think that's like half wrong. But I want to make a Biden point before we move on.
Yeah.
Just an observational thing. Boy, the biggest kind of, when you go into the madhouse world of Trump, the biggest tell to me was in his endless cavalcade of hatred. he's madder at Biden than anybody.
Oh my
Every
God.
time. That guy's and you know why? Because that son of a bitch dropped out. Now I'm going to
I
lose.
know.
You know,
Yeah,
he's
100%.
so mad at Biden for
100%.
taking the candy away. And, you know, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I hope Joe Biden watched this thing last night and there's a fork in his road. He could go the Irish bitter way of, if I were there, I would have really got him. You know, they forced me out. Or he could go, thanks to me, this guy has mincemeat on the floor now and had a good cackle and hopefully a little Jameson's, because I hope it was satisfying for the president.
Well, I'll say one more thing about Biden though, quickly, as just an analogy thing. If anybody I mean, I keep banging this drum, which is that Trump has always been incoherent and you know, and not linear and not rigorous and not consistent, but he is worse now. And he's not just the old, he's not just the old candidate because Biden's gone. He's starting to show some different versions of, but his own versions of the loss of mental acuity. Some of these answers are so at a moment when everyone's asking the question, can Donald Trump just find some discipline? If he could find a little bit of discipline, a little bit of that late 2016 magic. If you're any Republican after watching that debate who thinks that Trump is going to be able to find consistency, rigor, focus, discipline, this debate, to me, it should kill it in your mind. That is not going to be the way to win for Donald Trump in this.
Yeah, well,
he might still win, but not that way.
It would be like saying if only Murphy could just dance. You know, it's just not.
Oh, wait a minute! I'll get my wedding video.
Oh, I've seen Murphy do the funky chicken.
Yeah,
but,
no. Let's just say two words: epic Charleston.
This podcast is sponsored by Naked Wines.
Have you ever wanted to learn more about wine, Axe, Murph? You know,
I've been studying it all my life.
Yeah, really, probably from the inside of the bottle in your case. But so you have figured out where to start, but Murphy's still trying to figure out where to start. And when do you feel, or when you do start, does it just feel like too much? I mean, the wine world is complicated.
I'll tell you, too many boxes to choose from for me. I don't know what to do. Help me, Heilman, help me.
God, and screw top bottles. Our next partner, Naked Wines, has changed the game. It's a real game changer for learning about wine without having to take a whole class about it. You don't want wine drinking to be homework, for God's sakes.
Naked Wines is a subscription service that directly connects you to the world's finest independent winemakers so you can get award-winning wine delivered straight to your door. And guys, I have actually participated with Naked Wines. I took their little quiz. I told them what wines I like. These wines did come right to my door, and they were really, really good. I was, frankly, I was keeping my mind open as to whether this thing was on the legit. I really, really enjoyed the wines.
I also heard a story about Hannah, who works on the podcast, that she got engaged, and they only had a random bottle of Prosecco that she gotten from Naked Wines, and it turned out to be the perfect way to celebrate her engagement. She opened that Prosecco up, and it was like, wow.
It was awesome. So incredible. We're still looking for her. We're not quite sure where she is. We just keep finding empty crates of
bottles.
Naked Wine all over the South Side. So let me explain a little about this great brand. They have been around for over 15 years, and Naked Wine funds over 90 independent winemakers around the world. That's the key. They source great wines and they pass on the, buy direct savings to you. And don't forget, you sign up for this, you can pause or cancel at any time. So just because you've got a trip coming up doesn't mean you can't enjoy Naked Wines before or after that much needed vacation.
Naked Wines believes that great wine is an experience. It's not just a product. And they're all about helping you connect with your friends, your family, and community over a shared bottle of wine. So they're basically like, hey, turn off the noise of the outside world, uncork a bottle, turn out the noise of the outside world and uncork a bottle to celebrate the little joys in life and the big joys in life. I mean, what doesn't go better with wine?
So join the Naked Wines community by heading to nakedwines.com/hacks for 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's nakedwines.com/hacks
for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99.
So should we pivot now to what's going to be the world's greatest eel or angry feral cats in a pillowcase fight in the history of the world? I did a Twitter poll on who's out the plane window. La Savita won 5-1 over the others. But Trump's going to have a head on a stick here within 24 hours. And, Lindsey Graham buried him last night in the
Oh
spin
my
zone.
God.
Well, he didn't bury
Told
Trump.
Tim Miller
He
that
buried
no,
the
of course
stag.
not. He's incapable of that.
Yeah,
But, the campaign.
No, I
the
mean,
worst.
listen, think about now we all, Trump's, psyche has been laid bare for the world to see in that debate last night. But think about Trump's psyche. I mean, he can't lose, right? He is not allowed to lose, which is why we've gone through this national
Right.
psychodrama, because Trump can't accept defeat. And
Well, then his dad would have been
here-
right
here-
about it.
and
Here
so
it
it
is.
has to be somebody's fault.
Here it is. I'll tell you
Right.
exactly how it's going to work. He's furious at La Savita and Wiles behind the scenes. He always feels as though he went along with them and their phony discipline that didn't let him be himself. He's got
Right. You and
Corey
your
Lewandowski-
talking points.
He's got Corey
teleprompter.
Lewandowski back in there now, who's apparently riding high and walking around like he owns the place. Let Trump be Trump, says Corey, which is just what Trump wants to hear. And the
Right.
way he's going to rationalize it is, to go to Mike's point from about Biden, is that if I hadn't let these fucking consultants talk me into doing that early debate with Joe Biden would still be in this race. That's in Trump's head.
Yeah, I totally
He's like,
agree.
he thinks that was a mistake. And he thinks that he's going to blame La Savita and Susie, or one or both, for having let him agree to a June debate. Biden wanted that debate. This is how it's
Right.
all part.
And they
you
didn't
guys
know
fucked
he'd
me.
drop out after
Right.
they made him drop out at the convention. They didn't know she was
Totally.
coming.
Totally.
I'm surprised La Savita, and I've said this on the pod before, hasn't jumped out on his own to get in front of this.
Well, let me just say a word about them. Donald Trump, remember when they came on board, was being written out of the script, and we were, this was during the memorable
Midterms, 2022.
yeah, the memorable DeSantis months,
Boomlet,
right?
yeah.
When he was going to be the new generation Trump leader.
When Fox News wouldn't let Trump on the air for that 6-month period.
Exactly.
Right.
Those guys took over that campaign in the midst of all of the turmoil, all the indictments, everything that was going on. And they led him through that Republican process.
And they did the inside
brilliantly.
politics really well.
Yeah.
The Republican inside politics. They bought low, sold medium, but they knew he was an undervalued asset. So I give him credit for that. I'm with you, David.
Yeah.
But the idea anybody manages him is still a farce. They operated
that's
on
the
his
problem is
behalf inside the party.
You can't have a rational campaign and an irrational candidate.
Right,
and not
right,
At
right.
the end of the day, have a problem.
Right. That said, if I were La Savita, and he knew the debate prep was basically throwing meatloaf at people and having somebody come in and tell me he's 80 points ahead in Alaska. My guess is La Savita was thinking about getting out before from just a La Savita survival point of view. And now he's in hell because you're right. Corey's going to walk around. Corey's going to start layering all the deputies with his own idiots. It's going to. That's the great gift of this thing for Kamala Harris. Not only did she start the second look phase with a super strong night, the next 8 days is all going to be Trump internal meltdown. Trump's going to go crazier to try to get momentum back. So they've just killed a quarter of the clock until early voting starts.
And by the
which
way,
is gold for
her. I think that the Tulsi Gabbard debate consulting firm took a big hit here. Lisa Loomer was on that
on the plane.
Oh,
plane.
Yeah, where's the
Lord.
pillow guy? I thought he wrote the clothes.
I thought that was the biggest tell. You knew that she was the source of the pets, dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect Laura Loomer,
And
based in no fact
Laura
whatsoever.
Loomer,
And
Laura Loomer.
Laura Loomer, and totally racist. It's an attack on Haitians. They're all dog eaters again.
That's what they do. They're them and their voodoo.
Yeah, right.
So here's an interesting little tell in his rhetoric, real quick. About 8 weeks ago, I got a call from a buddy of mine who's one of the potentate, a wealthy, successful guy. And he said, yeah, I got invited to this thing with Elon Musk, a couple of my peers. And Elon went on this crazy rampage about Trump's an idiot, but, the Dem, at that time it was Biden, end of the world, because they're going to let all these immigrants in with their immigrant culture. And of course, he's an immigrant. And they're going to ruin America. They're all socialist. And in 15 years, they're going to take over the voting. This whole apocalyptic spin.
Right.
And I'm sure they're telephone buddies now, Trump and Elon. A lot of this crazy foreign horde changing our country is coming from Elon.
Elon
Yeah.
is a backer of great replacement theory. Tucker's like used to be
Yeah.
the biggest voice for that, and Elon is a lot richer than Tucker. So like Trump's listening to Elon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Elon has I said some weeks ago on TV, like he wants to be, the first or the next great American oligarch, and Trump
Yeah.
is willing to make him that.
Sure.
He's already designated a role he'd play in the government efficiency expert. He's also one of the big government contractors, so it's kind of an odd.
Yeah.
I got
That's
it.
very odd.
I gotta say,
Kinda.
I posted this picture last night, which went insanely viral on Twitter of Stephen Miller and
I saw that, yeah.
what's his name, Matt Gaetz, walking in right before Trump came to the spin room, and they looked like they had their cats, dogs, and pets eaten. They were just like, and had also had a few Klonopin on the way in. They were not the picture of victory. Let's put it that way. They're not
Yeah, I don't think Miller has a dog, by the way. Probably a Guillemot or a
yeah.
tarantula, or
Right.
something
But
like
they're
that.
like, but you looked at those guys again, like basically the whole debate prep team, like Matt Gaetz was along with, it was going to be the Gaetz and Gabbard were going to be the debate prep specialists. They were
Yes.
leading all the debate prep for Trump, and it did not work out all
Listen,
that well.
when the bar scene at Star Wars is your debate prep group, that is a bad sign. So guys, where do we go? Where do
hey,
we go
David.
from here?
Hey, David, let me ask you this question real quick, because I think we should
Yeah.
put in a word.
Oh, you wanted to
What-
play that? I'm sorry.
No,
you did play that.
no,
Go
we
ahead.
played, we played it.
We played everything we need. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you this, because you did 2 debate preps with Karen Dunn, and I think that's
Yeah.
worth saying that to go back to the top of the podcast when you gave credit to how well prepared Harris was.
Yeah.
People asked, Ron Klain deservedly has a reputation as a great guru of debate prep, even notwithstanding the Joe Biden performance in Atlanta. And people were asking me last night, well, how do you explain this? I mean, obviously they had a very rigorous, meticulous debate prep process. And I just say, Karen Dunn rode shotgun with Ron on all of those debate preps,
Yeah.
the ones you guys did. She's a brilliant woman. She's really
Yes.
good at this. And I was not in those rooms, but I'm willing to bet when the story comes out that there's going to be a lot of credit that's going to fall on Karen Dunn's lap for this.
Listen,
for
let me
this
say a word
performance.
about
Well,
her. because
and just quickly, Kamala was willing to listen and do the prep.
Of
Well,
course,
Trump
of
was
course.
not. That's a huge thing.
they huge, but I think Karen did her prep 4 years ago as well.
Yes.
And I think they related well. Just to let everybody know, Karen Dunn started as a communications person in politics. She was Hillary's deputy communications director under Howard Wolfson when Hillary ran for the Senate. She went to work for Hillary in the Senate as communications director, left to go to Yale Law School, ended
yes.
up clerking for Merrick Garland and for Justice Breyer,
Right.
and has become one of the most honored
Powerful lawyers in DC.
litigators
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
country.
Yep.
Beyond brilliant person who has both communication skills and legal chops, and sort of forensic chops. She was briefly my chief of staff in the 2008 campaign. I think she's also
yeah?
as good a
Wow.
person as good a person as she is.
Nice a person as you've ever
Right.
met, and
Yeah,
nice a person as there is on planet Earth.
So and then I also want to give my old partner David Plouffe credit, because he's been involved in
Yep.
this as
Oh,
well. And so,
Loof.
they did whose brilliance has already been
Well established.
established. So those guys did a terrific job. But yes, Kamala Harris, she invited that kind of team. She wanted that kind of
Right,
team. She was
right.
a great and willing collaborator with that team. They spoke a language that she could appreciate, and she executed on the plan really, really well.
And I will throw the bouquet that no one ever wants to see thrown, but it never made sense to me, Bob Bauer playing Trump in debate prep. It never made sense. And I'll tell you, man, I have seen video of Philippe when he did Clinton's debate prep in 2016.
Talking about Philippe Reines, who's a former Hillary comms
Philippe
person.
Reines, and he's
Reines, sorry.
I think that's how it's said. I never get it right, but everybody just calls him Philippe. And he does the Lee Strasberg thing. He puts on the fat suit and the giant thing and the long tie. And he was great at it. And they brought him back for this. And I have to say that my guess is if video of that ever leaks, you'll be like, whoa, he really anticipated a lot of. He was a great student of Trump.
Which is, let me say, when you're doing debate prep, in 2008, when Granholm was preparing for when Biden was preparing for Palin.
Yeah.
Jennifer Granholm played Palin in the debate prep. former actor, Jennifer
Yes.
Granholm was. She was so brilliant and anticipated almost everything that Palin did. She inhabited the character.
Well, and you
And
guys used Kerry in 2012 to great effect too. Kerry played
yes,
Romney, and
but
Kerry was a
Romney,
perfect patrician in Boston.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the key to good debate prep. You want to simulate it so when the candidates there, they're never surprised and they never think, "Oh my God, what a
exactly.
great answer! I'm losing. Oh my God, I can't do this. My mom hated me," and
Right.
they spin off. You want them to hear the other person's act and know it cold, so they always
Right.
feel secure and in
Right.
control.
Yes.
And
It is like,
it's
I
a,
mean, we always fall back
it's
on
a
sports
simulation.
analogies, but it is like preparing for a football game. You study tape, you
Right.
practice against what
You
you
know
think
all
you're
their
going to
lines.
see.
Yeah.
You know what their habits and are on the
Right.
field, and
Right.
the more familiar you are with what you're seeing, the better you're going to do.
Yeah. You're never
This was
surprised.
clearly a great. They did great prep.
Well,
So
let me
just
pivot to
a
a
fantasy.
question.
Yeah.
Or do you got something? Go ahead, Dave.
No,
Because
no,
I've
no.
got
I'm trying to
I've got
figure
one
out how
more
to
thing
land the
left.
plane,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I thought we could land on this. And sorry, mailbaggers, because there's so much debate stuff to talk about. But next week, so send the stuff, and we'll give you the address in a minute. All right, you're Trump, and internal snake pit. Corey is putting everybody in uniforms. But if there's a moment where they adjust the big pointed flumes and wide lapels and everything. All right, what we need are Sam Brown belts and boots.
We need more
we're
guys
going
and
that
dolls.
way.
We need more guys and dolls around here. Let's
Right,
do Sky.
right.
You be Sky Masterson. I'll be Nathan
Right,
Detroit.
exactly. We're going to turn this thing around with a musical.
Right.
What is the smart move for Trump to recapture this thing? What he's going to do is double down on all the crazy. And
Yeah.
now the debate really conditioned America, kind of like the Biden age thing, like, wow, he's really nuts. So now that filter's there, and it's going to make the crazy I mean, when Trump is more crazy, it's going to hurt him more now. I think the sensitivity meter has been turned on. But what should they do? Obviously, a debate on the economy and the border. But
yeah, what they should do is they should start where he ended and pick up on his last kind of tirade about, it works better when she's not there to rebut, but they need to make her an exemplar of all of the things that people dislike about Biden's presidency and portray her as continuity. That was the debate plan. He didn't execute it.
Right.
They got to double down on it. But I think they're gonna, I think you're gonna see a lot more barbed stuff coming.
She has challenged Trump to another debate immediately and predictably, right? The Harris campaign came out very quickly. We're like, let's do another one. You know that I know what I think I know both of you guys as seasoned political professionals will say they shouldn't, that it would be bad news for Trump because confronting her is not
doubling down on what epically didn't work is
Right.
not a particularly great strategy.
But that's an easy answer in the sense that it's right. But do you think Trump can resist? Trump will want to do it.
Yeah.
Trump wants to
there's
have
no
another debate.
controlling him. Here's my prediction.
We're back to Colonel Jessup here. He wants to go back. He wants to have another round with Tom Cruise.
Right.
No doubt about it. He wants to get back up on the witness stand and have another go round.
I'll do my Kreskin thing here. I predict within 24 hours, Trump will be standing there trying to look human with some Joe the plumber guy from New York saying, Haitian ate my schnauzer. And they're going to try to double down on that. They're going to go find the eyewitness who was on local TV or wherever they heard the story from that Vance found, not upstate New York, from Ohio. And we're going to find the victim of the Haitian pet eating attack. And it's going to be laughable. It's going to be right up there, 4 Seasons Lawn Care, but it's coming.
Listen, I think that
if we could get a Haitian to eat Rudy Giuliani, that'd be must-see TV.
That there's no seasoning that would make that go down well. But
it's the brown gravy from the hair.
All right, okay.
I don't know. Peter Luger can do a lot, so we're
yeah.
Oh, Luger's. Hey, David, you're here. You're in New York. Let's go to Luger's this week.
All right. Okay. Let me write that
I'm
down.
jealous now.
Let me put that on my list.
Hey, Hackaroos, most of us aren't trying to become Olympians. Well, speak for yourself. But who doesn't want to feel strong, healthy, and end the day with some energy left in the tank? That's not happening without what, boys?
Without Field of Greens. That's why one of our most talented and athletic producers, the inestimable Sarah Lena, who's actually run marathons for God's sakes, takes Field of Greens, its whole organic fruits and vegetables, no extracts, no lab-made stuff, just 1 scoop a day, gives you simple, real nutrition, John Heilman.
If you added up all the running I've done in my entire life, it wouldn't equal 1 marathon. And some of the things that if you take, there are people who are big Fields of Greens consumers. They see all kinds of improvements. They don't have the afternoon crash that I know puts Murphy out for 3 hours every afternoon.
Oh, what?
They sleep,
Sometimes on this podcast.
Sleep, right. Those are always the best episodes. The better sleep. Just the stomach feels better. You get better gut health, and you get steady strain energy. Never too high, never too low. You want it all day long. Field of Greens delivers that.
Well, what's the secret? Field of Greens feeds your body with fruits and vegetables medically chosen to support your heart, vital organs, and immune system. So that's why Field of Greens is Sarah Lena's go-to, the marathoner.
She's the marathoner.
And once in a while, Axe gets a little tired from changing the batteries on the remote. He needs a jolt of energy. So Sarah Lena, Axelrod, all our great athletes here, they use Field of Greens to get the nutrients they need, even on those difficult, exhausting work days.
But if you try Field of Greens and you don't love it, you can return it for a full refund.
Not a partial refund, but a full refund, the whole Monty.
Exactly. So, and here's the good news. We got you 15% off your first order and free rush shipping. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use promo code HACKS.
We here at Hacks on Tap got you 15% off your first order and free rush shipping. So that's the promo code HACKS at fieldofgreens.com. Visit fieldofgreens.com. Use the promo code HACKS and you get your 15% off your first order. That is an irresistible offer.
Jason Miller was on TV yesterday morning, and he said she doesn't know what she's in for. She's in against Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
She's in against Floyd Mayweather. And I said when I heard that, the thing he ought to worry about is this guy knocking himself out.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. And that's what's going to happen again.
That even made Scott Jennings laugh on air. I saw that. You earned the elusive Jennings chuckle.
I think Trump's Secret Service code name has been changed to Tex Cobb. There you go. There's a little boxing analogy for you.
But even your boxing references go back a few years.
I mean, they're really. You have to be like
you
have to be over 80 to understand how.
I used to write for Dennis Miller. Okay, obscure. That's my monkey trick, as Dennis would say.
But so there is a strategy that's rational, and they're doing. The campaign is doing the things that they should be doing. I'll give you one example. They are a friend of mine in Philadelphia said that they were on vacation and they came home. Their kids don't live at home anymore, but they're still registered there, and they're young. Their kids who are in their 20s got 12 mailings from the Trump campaign, and they were a bunch of them were about crime and stuff, but some of them were disavowing Project 2025. So they're doing that. They're targeting. They're trying to get their sliver of young voters where they obviously have some play. And then a friend of mine in Atlanta said her young African-American son was getting pounded with material on how unjust Kamala was as a prosecutor, putting people away. So interestingly, their macro message
from the left on her.
Exactly. They're attacking her from the left on a micro, and in macro, she was a lenient prosecutor letting everybody go. But they're doing the blocking and tackling that you would expect campaigns to do. The problem is they're completely out of sync
with the candidate, the most important message generator, who's waving dog skeletons around. I think the other thing, they're going to get a little taste of the Biden life circa 2 months ago, because the Hightower folks are going to start to completely panic. All they need is 1 or 2 bad post-debate polls. And I already got an email from a smart establishment money king saying it's all about the Senate now, which is, if that's the mood of that world, because there was a lot of accommodating high dollar people who don't love Trump, but they're like, she's a communist, we got to give the Trump. That's the rationale. And that world doesn't like debate losers.
Yeah.
So
or
it's gonna be a rough week for
abject
him.
lunatics. You know,
Right.
I'll
That's
tell
like the second worst thing you can be. As long as you win, we're take crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is
the
the sin of the party.
two last points. This debate, there were a lot of viral moments in this debate.
Oh,
And
Man.
so, it'll be
Virus
interesting to
bumps.
see how this thing bounces around. I meant to check before I got on to see what was bouncing around social, but that's going to have reverberative effects out there. And the question is, when it all shakes out at the end of this week, where is this race? My guess is that she made marginal improvement. There's not that much elasticity in this electorate. You can't move that much. The question is, can she move a couple of points?
Yes.
Can she move a
She'll
couple
get
of points
something.
in Pennsylvania? Can she move a
Yeah.
couple of points in Michigan and Wisconsin?
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. Although, guys, I'm increasingly of the mind that if she doesn't win Pennsylvania, I'm not sure. I don't know that there is another path. If she doesn't win Pennsylvania, maybe she'll win Georgia. Then you have to find a second state.
I'll
North
tell you,
Carolina.
I just saw
That's
private
the Georgia
data.
North Carolina thing. That's the only way to do it.
Well, Nevada.
Well,
Nevada,
that's
she's got a legit lead there now in this poll I
Yeah,
trust. I just saw.
But I think to
yesterday.
David's thing is
I
you
wouldn't
have to
trust
find-
it that much.
she has to take a
Yeah.
state away from Trump, and Nevada wouldn't be doing that. I think you basically.
Well, it's the
if you
Sun
lose-
Belt state. It's one of the three.
No, she doesn't.
Unless
If she
loses
loses Pennsylvania and kept Michigan and Wisconsin, which would be unusual, by the way.
Well,
But
that's
if
my
she
point.
did that and she won Georgia and she took Nevada, then she'd
Okay.
win. She'd have
Yeah, that's the
273.
scenario
Okay,
I was
fine.
just sketching
Okay.
out.
Yeah,
And don't forget Omaha, CD2.
Yeah.
But,
I will
but
say-
not
I'm
enough to
counting
overset
that.
Pennsylvania.
She won't need Omaha if she did that, but she would be at 272 then. But this
Well,
is the
she has
world in
some
which we're going
fuel
to be
now.
living
Let's
in the
put it
rest of
this
the
way.
way.
But
She's
David, it's
won
just-
two things: a little bit of polling, I think.
Yeah.
But she's taken 7 to 10 days away from Trump as the clock ticks quickly.
Yes, really important. And I will say that David, to your point about what's floating around social media, you never know with these candidates who's going to be good for whatever the platform is. In 2016, you would not have predicted social media avatars would be Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. That somehow those guys would be the ones who understood and were good viral candidates in that moment on the platform. And Obama, you would have predicted it more because he was young and
Right.
more, but it is the case that somehow, because of the crispness, this is one of the other advantages of prosecutorial Kamala, is that the crispness of the way that a litigator turned politician makes arguments. She's very memeable. I mean, in addition to her being
Yeah.
multiracial and on the younger side
Yeah,
of Trump,
she's
but
got
she
a
No,
also-
she has a
connectedness to her.
precision to her stuff.
he has
and
precision.
that
That's
is
what I'm
easy.
saying, and that
Yeah.
works in short form. Like
Yes,
she gets off a
yes.
lot of very memeable lines, and Trump is
Yeah.
rambling. It's
Yeah.
like Trump was a good Twitter candidate, but he's not a good TikTok candidate.
No,
She's a
but
good
he's a
TikTok
good
candidate.
TikTok candidate for them,
Well, that's
for the Harris
I meant-
people.
yes, I
That
meant- I
rambling.
meant-
That rambling has its use.
I
Listen,
meant
guys,
for
we
his
got.
for his
I'm still
purposes.
trying to get my head around this Mannix thing X is doing. I got to hit social media and see what the kids are doing. Like you're on MySpace.
Yeah,
where do you go? What's your
Friendster.
I
menu?
turn on my
Friends.
radio.
TikTok. Yeah, you get the AM radio out. And see what
David's got one-
WGN is. Oh, I don't know. 50,000 watts. A big trouble for Trump here.
David's got one of the biggest accounts still going on Friendster.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly.
Huge 253
Exactly.
followers. It's
All
massive.
right. The one thing I have is a clock that's still useful,
People
and I
are
know
saying-
we've run
people are
out of
saying,
time.
yeah,
we gotta
people are
wrap
saying
this
we're running
thing up.
late.
Yeah.
All right. Quick
All right,
housekeeping.
boys. We'll see you. We'll see you next time.
Let me just do the plugs. Fill up the mailbag. We need it for next week. xontap@gmail.com. And check out Directly Current with the young, brilliant Max Patton, a podcast all about EV politics. It debuts today.
Hey, and make sure they call in. We like those voicemails. The voicemails are the sweet ones.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
just
yeah,
send the email.
totally.
Call. We want to hear you people.
Do
We
a
don't wanna
voice
just-
memo on your phone and email
Just
it.
make sure you're
or
not a
we
bot.
got our number.
Yeah.
You can just listen to an old episode. We won't make you sit through it now.
100%.
All right, boys. Next
All right,
time.
onward.
Later days.